everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach, and here we talk about overlanding, gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle. I've got a Toyota 4Runner, and I've done a previous video where I talked about sort of my rear trunk setup, and I want to show you a couple of tweaks I've made and maybe a couple areas where you can save a little bit of money in that setup. So previously I made a video where you could use a lot of off-the-shelf components to make a rear trunk setup that doesn't break the bank and allows you to take gear camping and then take it out of your vehicle when you are out and just kind of doing daily activities like maybe driving to work or running errands or groceries or picking up hardwares or something like that for just other things in life where you're not like off-roading or overlanding. So one thing I do actually really want to show you though is this new Anker power bank that was sent out to me. I think it's really sweet, and I'm gonna kind of talk about that first and kind of how that powers a lot of this setup. And it could be an alternative for some of you out there that don't really want to dive into a massive dual battery setup. And the form factor on this little battery is awesome. It's super small. It's probably the smallest battery that I've kind of worked with per the output that it has. And so I think that's really cool too. But let's jump into it. I'm going to show you a lot of stuff going on back here. We'll start with that Anker battery, and then we'll get into some of the other features, because I've been trying out some different products lately, and I think they're kind of cool little things you can add to your gear that are not too expensive, and they might be handy and more affordable. So let's jump into it. I want to show kind of where this is placed in the vehicle. So a lot of times I'll have a dog bed here. This is the Black Lab brand dog bed. I really like it. It's really durable. It's got this kind of canvas cover, which is quite durable. And then the bottom has these rubber feet so it doesn't slide around. And it's really slick, and then it's got a waterproof cover underneath that you can use to wash and whatnot. So I typically have a dog bed in this area, so I fold down the seats, and then I'll remove the kind of butt portion of the seat here so that I've got some extra space, and I'll show you why. But this is where I'm at right now. Just kind of get your bearings in the back of the 4Runner, fin fab shelf. And so here is where I keep the power bank. What I've done is on my piece of plywood down here, I have a bunch of these little D-rings. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, and they make it really easy to mount stuff. And so right here, I've got the Anker power bank mounted in there. And it's pretty sweet. It's a portable power station. It's a lithium battery, so it's got like 3,000 charges. It's, you know, really long lasting, which I think is pretty impressive. And it's got a lot of different charging opportunities. So what I've done is I've ran this cable, it's a DC to solar plug, down under the dog bed to right behind the armrest where there are two 12-volt, 10-amp DC ports. So you should get roughly around 120 watts out of that when the car is on. So that's pretty sweet, but I can leave it plugged in all the time, and when the car's off, no power should technically be delivered, so we don't have to worry about the battery actually dying. So then I've got a couple of these roller cam straps wrapped around the handles on the battery. And you can see right now it's been running my Iceco fridge, which is pretty slick. And it's super close, super easy to access. And all the ports are facing this direction, so they're really easy access from my bag. I can put my camera bag right behind my driver's seat, and it's pretty slick. So I just wanted to show this mount sort of setup here, and then I'll put the bed back down and I'll show you kind of how I've got some additional flexibility there. So it's pretty slick. I really like this layout so far, but let's talk a little bit more about some other features. So I've got my window rolled down here just to show you where this sort of lands. So it's almost a perfect setup for charging all of the different DC things while you're driving down the road, or even just at camp and you want to leave this dog bed sitting in here. It's really slick. So let me get this screen actually turned on here. Just got to press that to wake it up. So this weekend on Friday, I started with 88% battery, and I've been running my fridge on freezer mode the whole weekend. So it's pulling 1 watt right now, but it was just pulling about 27 watts a little bit ago. On that screen, it'll show how much time is left with the current power draw, and then it'll also show the instantaneous power draw. So I just wanted to show that. And then once I plug in some of these USB devices, that wattage will go up, but it's really nice to have all those plugs there because I can charge a number of devices. The thing I actually realized is it'd be sweet to put some Velcro up here with some different charging spots so I can charge going down the road and they'll stay there. So I might actually do that. That'd be pretty slick. All right, so now I've got 3 devices plugged in here. I'm charging my DJI Osmo 3 and then my phone and a battery for my camera. You can see it's pulling 37 watts now. So And that's going to last for 90 hours if I continue to pull that much power. So there you go. If you are using a fridge, that's about the same amount of wattage. It's going to last for about 90 hours. So just to give a little look there. And then the screen, to wake it up, it will go to sleep pretty quickly, which actually I think is a really nice feature. And then not to mention this awesome light here. It will illuminate the whole car facing towards like the area where I store a lot of stuff. So even though this dog bed is so big, I'll typically set like a duffel bag on top of it. And it's really nice because it will then illuminate this whole space here, which I think is really handy. All right, so a couple of things I also want to mention. There is a AC plug on this side and then a DC plug / solar plug on this side. So to note here, some kind of numbers I think are useful are, you know, there's about 11 ports on the actual battery bank. And to talk a little bit about some of the charging capabilities, like this is a 12 amp, 120 volt, 60 hertz, like wall power, AC power plug. So, but the 12 amp max, and then the solar plug is a 600 watt, 12.5 amp max. So there's a lot of capability to do DC to DC solar conversions for charging pretty excessively through that port. So if you wanted to figure out how to charge 600 watts through your vehicle through the solar plug, you can. You can also use that plug just for solar panels, or you can use it at a lower wattage like I have just through the car ports and sort of trickle charge it that way. So there's a number of ways to charge this in lots of different fashions to be really quick. So, and it's got the hyper flash recharge, so you can charge this in about 58 minutes through using their built-in, you know, pathway. So there's lots of opportunities here for fast charging. And then to talk a little bit about some of the ports on the front, there are 6 different AC ports, which is pretty insane. And if you have a bunch of different devices where you'd want to use a wall port, you definitely can. I'm a big proponent of using the DC plugs, and I'm going to explain why it's pretty sweet that they have what they do. So if any of you are curious, a lot of these wall plugs here, they all have an 1800 watt max with surge up to 2400 watts. So it has large output, but since it is only a 1058 watt hour battery, you're not going to want to run that for super long, but at least it has that functionality to have pretty high output for a short period of time if you want to run a device that pulls a lot of power, like I don't know, like a water kettle or something. We'll turn this light off just to save some battery, but as you can see here, there's 3 different brightness modes. And then these ports I think are also pretty sweet. So if we look at these, we've got 2 USB-A ports, and these are both rated at 20 watts. But then we also have one port here that's rated for 100 watts and one that's rated for 30 watts. So I think that's really sweet because if you're wanting to do fast charging, you'll typically use 30 watts for a phone. And if you want to charge a laptop, you can use 100 watts. And the nice thing is using your standard laptop chargers through AC power is a lot less efficient. So what I would do is I would use a USB-C to USB-C cable to be able to charge at 100 watts at DC. It's gonna be a lot more efficient, and it's really nice to have that higher output on here. So all of these features also have these little power enabler buttons, so you can turn each section on or off. And then this is obviously the 12 volt DC plug for the fridge where it's been plugged in. All right, well, I hope that was kind of interesting for you and just showing you some of these different features. As you can see too, the fridge just kicked on and it's pulling about 38 watts. And this will spike anywhere from 38 watts up to like sometimes even 60 watts. Just kind of depends. I've been running my fridge at 2 degrees the whole weekend in freezer mode, so it pulls a little more power, but it turns on and off, and so that's, you know, good to know. All right, well, I'm gonna pull this out of here and kind of show you just some of that form factor a little bit again. All right, well, that's the Anker Solix. I think it's a sweet battery. It's really nice and compact, which I also like. For weekend trips, it's really all the power you need. And so, you know, it's a pretty sweet piece of kit. And also at the price point it comes in, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer for some of you out there. And Anker has been, you know, a pretty strong brand in the power field. I don't know if you've ever bought OEM charging cables, but I've bought so many Anker charging cables over the years. And they've really proven themselves as a brand leader in the power space. So I think there's kind of no question here that these are going to be pretty nice. And if this isn't enough space for you, you have the ability to expand the battery. So it's kind of hard to show here, but on the side there is this big proprietary plug, and you can plug in a whole expansion battery right on the side there. So there's lots of modularity too within this power bank. So if you need the small form factor, you got it. If you need a little more space here, I could stack a second battery right on top of this. It's gonna fit right up to the top of my fridge, and that would be pretty slick too. So lots of options and lots of capabilities here. And I'll bring you guys a little bit closer here so you can get a better view of actually what we're working with here, but just kind of higher level. I have a FinFab Moly panel shelf system, and then we've also got a Roam 105 liter case here and an Iceco single zone fridge, and it's kind of a more durable version of kind of one of their past fridges that I still just absolutely love. I think it's still one of the best fridges they make, and I've got a cover on it here. What I've done is I've got a bunch of these D-ring spots along the bottom of my leveling platform here, and I'll link the video up here somewhere for you to actually go check out the leveling platform video. But it's pretty handy. So if you don't have a C4 or any sort of rear bumper setup like I've got here with one of these drop down tables, what you can do is you can build a leveling platform kind of like I have, and I just have this wooden platform surface here that is pinching on the actual leveling platform. So it doesn't require slides or anything fancy like that, and it works for holding a number of things, and it's pretty durable, holds a fair amount of weight, and I kind of like it as a little built-in feature. So I'm gonna bring you closer here and I'll just show you a little bit more up close some of these different features. All right, so here you can see this is my 105 liter Roam case, and what I really like about it is it has a hinging lid that folds up only in that direction with just these two buckles, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. Plus little bottle opener. But all you do is you take off these two and you can pull it out and it hinges up. And so you've got access to the lid organizer, you've got access to everything you keep inside it, and I use this to hold all of my camping gear for cooking, like basically my camping kitchen. And then on the side here, I've got my dual, and then on the side here, I've got my single zone fridge. Now, I have slides for both of these, but I wanted to show that, you know, for the most part, I mean, I can tie this down with this little D-ring here and a little strap, and it stays in place. It doesn't have to be that fancy if you want to pull it out and use it at like a picnic table. One thing that's really slick too here is these are some Max Track light. So I'll pull them out and just kind of show you. So they've got two handles. They're nothing crazy as far as size goes, but they're nice for leveling the truck. They're nice to have like as a backup in case I were to get stuck. But these were sent to me by eTrailer, and I really appreciate them sending these out because I've actually got a different place I'm going to mount them, but I realized that they fit almost perfectly right here on the side. They're about the exact same length as the 105 liter case, and so that was super convenient. So I just have been keeping them there. And then another thing I wanted to kind of show you is some of you have maybe heard about this brand, but it's called Roller Cam, and they sell these cool little just, you know, nylon cables, and they've got a rolling dowel. And so what you can do is you can loosen them, but then you can pull them tight and then they'll cinch tight. And so they're pretty handy for just like tying stuff down to not slide around or rattle. And it's not like anything insane that's gonna hold it if you like roll your car, but it's pretty nice for just tying things down. And so you can tie little loops, and it's got like a carabiner style hook at the end. And they sell a bunch of different length straps as well. So I don't know exactly what this style of wrap is called, but this is the style of strap that I was using. You can kind of see here, similar rolling dowel, and then you can use it to cinch, and they make these small little 3-footers that I was using to tie down my battery bank here. And so, you know, they're slick. It's just handy to have these little straps, and if you don't want to spend the money on these slides, you can just get some straps and tie stuff down, and it works just about as good. So yeah. And one thing I think that's pretty funny is like a lot of the guys on YouTube, they're like, man, it's so awesome to have these power ports because now I can charge my drone batteries and my camera and yada yada yada. And it's like, well, yeah, that's nice, but most of the people that buy these sort of products aren't like filming full time, so that's not necessarily that relevant. So I want to just show, like, I've got a couple of other, you know, if you had yourself and a partner and you've both got cell phones, you know, it's nice to have a couple ports for that. And then having a couple other ports free is handy if you want to charge an iPad or a laptop, if you're like wanting to watch videos at camp. Or maybe you're like me and you have a couple of these little collapsible lanterns. E-Trailer sent me these ones as well, and they're pretty handy just for having some indirect light. I've got some Devos that I really like too, but these are kind of nice as something that's a little less harsh, and so that's really sweet. And then if you had a couple things that run off of AC power for cooking, or you know, maybe you want to run a heated blanket off of these or something, you know, there's a lot of versatility here with the AC wall ports, and you can bring things from home and you don't have to like purposefully buy a 12-volt DC version to run off of this. But that's one thing that I think is kind of like a nice balance here, is you don't need like 50 USB ports on these battery banks, because most people aren't like, you know, full-time travel influencers that need to charge like 30 cameras. So it's nice. I think it's a good balance, and it's not overboard. And I just wanted to give another little closer look at this port here on the side. This is their big proprietary plug for running the expansion battery bank. So yeah, just additional view here with some better light. And there's the little charging ports on the side there for solar here, and then your AC port. And just to kind of show you like another angle here, you know, if I want and I don't want to use this, like I can just pull this case like out about halfway, and then it clears and I can open it fully. The gas struts hold the lid open. You know, it works fine if you didn't want to have to get the slide, and save some money there. So that's a sweet thing. And then here, you know, this is, I can just loosen this, unclip this roller cam, pull it back through here. This is just some loose string, and now it's completely unbolted, and then I can grab it and pull it out. You know, this cable or this cover, it's handy for some efficiency, but you wouldn't necessarily need it. You can then open up the top, and away you go, you know. So there's some nice functionality with a drawer slide. I think it's probably handy to have a slide on your fridge, but I wanted to show that you don't necessarily need it if you didn't want to spend the money on it. And the setup still works quite slick. The other thing too is if I wasn't running my 105 liter, I could sleep here, and the 105 liter maybe would fit in front, but probably not with the battery bank. That would be a little tricky, but you could probably bolt it to your roof, strap it down, it'd probably be fine. Lots of options, lots of mounting options. You know, we just route this back through, loop that little loop through, and then grab our cable and cinch it down, and away you go. That easy. I've got it plugged in, so what we're gonna do is, I just wanted to showcase this view here. So there is kind of an opening that I've created here, because I've got my two front runner chairs. I love these, they're super compact. E-Trailer also sent those. I've been wanting to get a pair for a long time, so this is a nice setup, and they save a lot of space. So I've got my toolbox here with just a ratchet and a couple other things. I've got like a impact driver, and then this is a drop hitch for pulling a trailer. And so this is nice though, because what it does is it allows the air vents in there to stay open so they can blow cold air back onto Otis. And then right down below there is a 12-volt DC plug for being able to charge this battery. So kind of a nice little setup right there. And I'm going to turn on the vehicle and show you the charging capabilities going down the road. So let's do that now. All right, so as you can see right here, we've got 96 watts of DC input from the vehicle. And then we've got, you know, roughly 30 watts going out to the fridge. And if we go here, we click this screen here, you can see we got roughly the same thing. 96 watts, 34 watts. So right here is our input voltage. Here is an input wattage, output wattage, estimated time left under current load. So pretty sweet. And then overall percentage shown right there. So this app is really cool as well. So if you ever want to look at this, you can see right here too, we've got like a graph. So it sort of shows, I wonder if I can look at the history. So lots of things you can customize on the app. All right, well, that's gonna be a wrap for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support from all of you. I'm gonna try and add videos here and there that I think are gonna benefit you, and I don't wanna just make continuous repeat content. So being that my 4Runner's already been pretty built out, I'm trying to pick and choose areas where I can actually provide you value and not just kind of go on and on about things you already know from other YouTube accounts or even just from stuff I've already posted on the channel. So appreciate your ongoing support. It really means a lot, and I will catch you all in the next video. Thanks.